One of the more advanced things you can do to your course is to customize the terrain properties. Maybe you want the rough to play heavier or lighter than a standard rough, and you don't want to add custom 2D objects to dampen the ball. You can actually change how Links deals with the shot by altering the numbers in Links Extender. Now, Links Extender 1 would allow you to edit the terrain properties, but it had a serious bug in that meant it wouldn't actually add the correct numbers to your course for the rough. I found a way around this by adding my rough as deep grass, but it was a long-winded way of doing things, and it's far easier now to use the Links Extender version 2. This is very simple to actually edit the numbers. The downside to Links Extender 2 is the help file, if I click on it, just locks up on my computer. I don't know whether this is the same on everybody's or just on my operating system, but I can't go into the help, so I've got no actual idea of how to use the program correctly. I remember bits and bobs from Links Extender 1. The help did work there, and it explains what the numbers actually mean. So I will try and explain from what I can remember. But anyway, if we click on the CRZ file and open our course, I shall scroll down and put in my last course, which is Darwin Point, and open it. And the first thing it does is creates a backup, so just click OK, and you then get this window which has all your texture names, the display names, and then lots of stats of numbers for different things like snap and power and restitution, friction, viscosity. Now what these all mean, I certainly can't remember them all, but one way you can decide what to do is just examine and compare different textures that you know the properties of. You know how your fairway is compared to the rough, so look at the numbers in fairway and compare them to rough. Well, here we've got power, lie power 1. That's a standard shot. In rough it's 0.92, so it's a little less power. You can see here deep grass, again it's a little less, 0.8. So you know if you alter this number, it's going to affect the overall length of the shot. And 1 is a standard full shot, so if we make this 0.9 to 0.7, it's going to play more heavy than the actual deep grass is at the moment, because that's set on 0.8. So we can simply alter the lie power and leave all the other numbers the same, and we can customize a lot of the textures just by doing that. And we don't have to know what all these other numbers mean. If we want to deal with creating a harder bounce, obviously we're going to have to try and figure out which numbers are going to affect that. Again, I would look at maybe the concrete and check out the concrete numbers, compare them to a fairway numbers, and it should give you an idea, because you know concrete bounce is higher. You should get an idea by comparing the two numbers what's doing what. And that's how basically I use logic, and then a calculator. So if I wanted a rough between deep grass and rough, I would take the numbers for rough that I think are the main ones that I need, which, as I said, in this case is probably just power is the main one. And if I wanted to create a rough between rough and deep rough, I would take the rough power number, I would take the deep grass power number, and I would use a calculator to find a number between the two, and I'd put that in its place. So to replace numbers, we simply click on the box and we can type in a new number. So if I change this, let's go a bit severe to 0.5. Let's put the point in. return. That should have made the normal rough a lot heavier, way heavier than even deep grass. So to check that out, I shall now save the course. So if I go course, save course file, I shall find my Darwin point. I shall call this Darwin point 2. And save it. I'm now into links, so I'm just going to remove the old Darwin point. Add in the new one. Okay, let's just exit the program, come back in, and now we'll just test that. So I'll just tap the ball into the rough, and now I'll hit something like, let's hit a 6 iron, 170, and we'll see how far it goes. Wow, that's pretty heavy now. So yeah, it's pretty simple to alter the numbers. The hard bit is really finding the correct numbers to create the effect you want, and it's really just trial and error a lot of the time. But if, like I say, if you use a bit of mathematics and the numbers that are already in the default textures, you should be able to come up with something that's somewhere near what you want, and then it's just a matter of refining it by playing with the numbers to see what effects you get. So I'll just come out now. Okay, I'm now back into Links Extender. Now, when you alter all these numbers, they're going to affect all the forms of play in links, except for two textures, and that's fairway and green. Now, these are special. If you alter the numbers in the fairway and green, they won't play any differently, because the choice of fairway and green conditions that you choose in the game are what determine the settings. So if you choose moderate fast, they'll play moderate fast. So when you change the green and fairway numbers, the only time these will actually affect the textures in the game are when you select the use course conditions option that's in the 107 patch. So that's what that choice is for. If you've changed the fairways and greens and you want to play with these conditions, you'll need the players to select use custom course conditions. Now, a couple of these texture types also only affect RTS or clicks, so I can't remember which they are, but I know some of these, obviously these snap ones are not going to affect the RTS players. So if you do alter numbers, you need to check out the names and make sure you alter the ones that affect both RTS or click. Otherwise, you're going to be giving one style of play an advantage over the other. So that's one thing to look out for. Again, you really need to get the help file from the version 1 because this will explain what these texture types do. So I'd advise you load that in and read the version 1 help file. if you can't get access to the version 2 one. Now, as to scene blends, there's no need to alter the scene blend numbers, because the numbers in a scene blend are actually the numbers of the textures in the scene blend. So as long as you've set your scene blend textures correctly, it will use the numbers of those textures. So there's no need to touch any of the textures that are your scene blends. So rough to edge, doesn't matter what these are set on, because they'll use the rough and the edge that I set in the scene blend properties. Now, the last thing to do when you've altered all your numbers, before you add the course back into APCD, you'll need to go into your APCD folder, and you'll need to delete your old user library. Now, this is because this user library will contain the texture property numbers of the original textures. So if you change the numbers using Links Extender and load your course into APCD, this user library is going to overwrite those changes you've made and put the old ones back in. So all you need to do, delete the user.lib. Probably best to copy it somewhere else first, just in case you have any problems. Once it's deleted, when you load in the altered course into APCD, a new user lib will be created, and all your texture property changes will be permanent, and you should be good to go.